Where are we now with this internet blackout?
The internet in Iran is still severely degraded. It's almost impossible to get online. Now, the AFP news agency is reporting that on Saturday, text messaging services were restored. And they're also saying that local media reporting that the authorities are considering gradually returning the internet. But besides a very tiny blip on Saturday morning on the networks, it's not looking like we have any evidence for this yet. And for everyday Iranians, it's simply a nightmare.
My work depends on the internet, so I'm forced to come here to Turkey to access it and do my work, and then return to Iran to see how conditions develop. If the internet is restored, we'll stay in Iran. If not, we'll be forced to leave again.
Now, Iranian digital activists have published an article on the website FilterWatch, which cites government sources in Iran, and it says that the regime is planning to permanently cut citizens off from the global internet. The report says that whitelisted people like government employees will have access to a filtered version of the internet, but for everyone else, they're going to have to simply make do with locally made Iranian apps in an incredibly controlled environment.
Now, so this is a bit like China.
Well, in China, you have some foreign websites that are still accessible. So if this report is to be believed, then Iran could be going towards something much more isolated and controlled than even that. And of course, there are a plethora of useful and popular Chinese apps in China. But in Iran, the National Information Network, as it's called, is pretty limited. I mean, you have ride hailing, you have online shopping, you have payments, sort of limited messaging, but even all of these have seen disruptions in the last few days.
I mean, is this in Iran? Is this the longest blackout ever they've had?
Yeah, in Iran certainly is. Globally, places like Mauritania and Sudan have had longer ones, but what I think is notable here is that network experts are calling this the most sophisticated and the most complete internet blackout that the world has ever seen. It was not just the internet, but it was mobile reception as well. The Financial Times is reporting that even the few insiders and journalists that had access to these so-called white SIM cards, which allowed them unfettered access, well, they lost access. Even the foreign ministry temporarily lost access as well. And the equipment of choice for getting around such blockades, Elon Musk's Starlink, well, those terminals are being hunted down and shut down one by one as well.
Yeah, you mentioned Starlink there.
Yeah.
In the age of Starlink, how is such a massive blackout possible?
Yeah, good question. Other countries obviously are connected to the internet via many, many different routes. Right, so it's a network, so you have multiple ways in and out for the internet in any given country. Iran, no. They reportedly only have about one or two ways for the internet to actually get in. So they only had to go and shut one of these down to turn the taps off, if you like. Starlink, as you mentioned, is an interesting one. About 50,000 of these have reportedly been smuggled into the country, and they connect directly to bespoke Starlink satellites. So normally they'd be able to provide connection. However, in this case, what people think happened, including our observers team here at France 24, is Iran simply used military-grade jamming technology and actually hunted down these things using drones and seized a large number of them.
Now, obviously here the regime has sort of seen this work so well.
Yeah.
Why turn it back on?
Yeah, that's the question that people are asking, right? Especially that report I mentioned earlier. But there are large costs involved here. This is going to cost the Iranian economy a significant amount. The economy is already in the gutter. These sputtering, patchy government apps are going to slow life down. People aren't going to be able to communicate with each other effectively. Businesses will close down. And of course, there's going to be less revenue for the internet service providers in Iran. So the services that remain will become more costly for everyone. Cybersecurity researchers, at least some of them, are saying that there are other potential threats to Iran here that it may not have considered. For instance, the small amount of internet traffic that's now coming out is now easily identifiable as government oriented. Maybe that's a certain threat. It also might be easier to tackle some other cybersecurity threats coming from Iran with so little internet data coming out. Having said that, that remains speculative, and there are as many cybersecurity researchers saying actually that's slightly overblown, and Iranian hackers will still find every which rich way of disguising their identities and appearing like they're acting from outside Iran.
And considering all of this, where does that leave the Iranian people?
Well, not only mourning the thousands of reported deaths, but potentially looking down the barrel, if this report is to be believed, of a barracks internet where they won't be able to communicate with loved ones effectively, and their online lives maybe even resembling something like the ones in North Korea.